Welcome back to Discovering Geometry with Mrs. Berry. This is lesson 45. Today we're going to be talking more about transformations, about compositions of transformations. That would be putting more than one together. Then we'll look at a reflection over two parallel lines and a reflection over two intersecting lines. So a composition of transformations is when you apply one transformation to a figure and then another transformation to its image. We're going to try this example. We have a triangle ABC with vertices A, B, and C. Here's our graph paper. So we're going to draw that first triangle, triangle ABC. Then we're going to translate it by this following rule. We're going to move the X in the -6 direction and the Y in the -5 direction. Here's our image. Then we're going to translate this red one, this image, by the rule moving the X in the +14 direction and the Y in the +3 direction. So what single translation is equivalent to the composition of these two translations? And what single translation could bring the second image, the green one, back to the original triangle, the blue one? So let's look at which translation moves the first triangle, the blue one, directly to the third one. We're trying to move this point to here. Well, we went over in the positive X direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we moved X in a +8, and we moved Y down 2. So that would be a -2. We could also just write this as 8, -2. And all of these points are the same. This one moves over 8 and down 2. And this one moves over 8 and down 2 as well. Now, how can we get from the second image back to the original? It would be in the opposite direction that we just talked about. From here, if I go backwards 8 and up 2, then I would get back to the original. So backwards 8 and up 2. Let's look at another investigation. We're going to reflect over two different parallel lines. So on a piece of patty paper, draw some kind of figure and a line of reflection that doesn't intersect your figure. Fold on the line of reflection so that you can draw the image. Then open it up and draw a second reflection line parallel to the first one so that your image is between the two parallel reflection lines. Now fold over this second reflection line and trace the image again. How does this second image compare to the original figure? Is there a single transformation that transforms the original to the second image? Use a compass or patty paper to measure the distance between a point in the original figure and its second image point. Compare this distance with the distance between the parallel lines. How do they compare? Here's my figure and one line. I'm going to fold on that line of reflection. I'm going to trace the figure again. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to draw a second line of reflection. I had to scoot my ruler down just a little bit so that I wasn't drawing on top of the image. Now I'm tracing that figure again. So there's my third one. If I look and see, that is a translation from the first one to the second image, even though it took two reflections to get there. So a straight translation would be the composition of two reflections over a parallel line. So reflection over parallel lines, conjecture. A The composition of two reflections over two parallel lines is equivalent to a single translation. Just a single slide is what happened after we reflected twice. If we were to measure the distance from any point to its second image under the two reflections would be twice the distance between the parallel lines. Let's look at another investigation. This time we're going to draw a figure and a line of reflection. We're going to fold over and trace the image. Then we're going to draw a second reflection line, but this time it won't be parallel. We want it to intersect the first one so that the image is in the acute angle between the two intersecting reflection lines. So if we have an image here and a reflection line, and we draw our second image, then our next line we want to intersect this first line, and we want this image to be in the acute angle. So maybe something like this. We want to fold to reflect the first image over the second line and trace that second image. Now you're going to draw two rays that start at the point of intersection of the two intersecting lines, and they pass through the corresponding points on the original figure and its second image. How does the second image compare to the original figure? Name the transformation that went from the original to the second. Then with a protractor, compare the angle created in step 5, right here, with the acute angle formed with the intersection reflection lines. How do those angles compare? So we're going to fold along this reflection line to get started. I'm going to trace the first image. Then we're going to draw a second line of reflection. Remember, that image is going to be in the acute angle. They're going to trace the second image. And we're going to look and see. It appears to be a rotation. And how does this angle of the reflection lines compare to the angle here for the rotation? Measure with your protractor to find out. So the conjecture here, when we're reflecting over two intersecting lines, the composition of two reflections over a pair of intersecting lines is equivalent to a single rotation. The angle of rotation is twice the acute angle between the pair of intersecting reflection lines. What other transformations can we do? There are many other ways to combine transformations. Combining a translation with a reflection gives a special two-step transformation called a glide reflection. So taking this, what pattern would we see? If we reflect this foot onto this side, the big toe would be closest to the line, and we'd have 4 more toes and the foot. And then we're going to glide it up ahead. So it would end up here. If we reflected it and glided again, we would have another one here. Reflect and glide. What would that look like? Try drawing it on your own paper. It would be like footprints. You can explore a few other examples of glide reflections in the exercises, and then there will be more things to explore later in the chapter.